Okay, our first speaker today is Dr. Bhavana Pahwa. Close? Pahwa. Bureau. Dr. Pahwa has worked with the Youth Bureau for the past 12 years and has more than 25 years of experience as a social worker. She earned her master's in social work and PhD from the University of Texas in Arlington, and also has a second master's degree in communications from Texas Tech University. And over the past 25 years, Dr. Pahwa has worked with youth and families as well as with school districts and community-based organizations. I also found out today that she is connected with Arya Samaj, so she's familiar with us in another way as well. But I do invite her to come up today. Her talk is Family Impact in Realizing Youth Potential. Dr. Pahwa, welcome to the podium.
Good morning. This is kind of a formal setup, but my talk, I like to keep it really informal. So feel free to jump in if you have questions while I'm speaking. I've actually worked at the White Plains Youth Bureau for 14 years and have loved every single minute of that time. The White Plains Youth Bureau is a very unique organization. We offer programs for youth under the umbrella of what's called a positive youth development model. I don't know how many of you are really familiar with that, but it's very different from most other social service or youth serving organizations. We take a very positive approach to working with youth and families, and to put it in a nutshell, the philosophy is that if you keep kids positively engaged in positive activities, that will mitigate all the other circumstances that put them at risk for negative behaviors. So it's not that we ignore the risk factors that impact youth, but we address them in the moment. So as they are taking a music lesson, if something comes up, it's all about positive relationships. At the Youth Bureau, we have currently about 45 different programs that we offer. About 95% of them are free for White Plains residents. The only fee-based programs are our after-school programs that we run at the schools and our summer camps. Some of them are fee-based, some of them are free. We get about 50% of our funding from the city, which are tax dollars, and 50% of it approximately from grants and private donations. We also have a 501c3 organization that the Friends of the White Plains Youth Bureau that does fundraising and provides much needed funding, especially in these times of dwindling grants and private funding. So it's desperately needed to sustain many of our programs. The topic today was family impact in realizing youth potential. And that's very interesting because many people have asked me and said to me, well, you're a youth bureau. How come you have programs for adults? But kids are dependent on their families and their parents and other significant adults in their lives, and you can't really ignore that. Many times when we have children coming to us, we see, I'm a clinical social worker, so I also provide free counseling through the Youth Bureau for anyone that's experiencing emotional, social, mental health issues on a number of various mental health problems. And so many times when especially young kids come to us or are referred for counseling, we end up really working with the parents because it's the parents and the adults in their lives who really have to address those issues when those issues occur. Children exist and live in a time warp. So if you don't, 5 minutes for them is like 5 hours in our time, right? So if you don't address it, many times when you talk to children, and you say, well, why did you do that? And you've asked them this question, 20 or 30 minutes later, and they'll say, I don't know. Well, that's really true, because they've forgotten, because 20 minutes later is like a lifetime. And they truly have forgotten and moved on to their next phase. And so you really have to address those issues as they occur. And so it's very critical that you work with their parents, you provide them with the necessary skills that they need to address these issues. Many of the families that we work with are struggling financially. Many of them themselves have emotional, social, physical issues that they're struggling with, and so we try to mitigate those circumstances as much as possible, because it's those issues that really then trickle down to the kids. So we offer parenting programs, we do home visits, we do small group discussions, we have a fatherhood initiative as well. Because many of our children have fathers who are missing. Divorce rate in our country is among the highest from anywhere in the world, and so many children grow up in single-family households or single-mother, single-parent households, and are missing from the lives of the children. And as kids grow up, both boys and girls really need a male positive role model in their lives. And so the Fatherhood Initiative really seeks to emphasize the importance of the male figure in a child's life. And we have a fatherhood conference. One of the other unique things about the Youth Bureau is our extension partnerships. So many people come to us and ask us, well, you've got a budget of about $2 or $3 million. It may seem like a lot, but when you're dividing it across 45 different programs and you're serving about 2,000 kids every day, how do you manage to do all the things that you do? And it's because we really partner with all the organizations. So we have a joint facilities agreement with the White Plains School District. We partner with the Slater Community Center. Heather is going to be speaking to you a little bit later on. So really, that's what really makes the dollars stretch, right? It also cuts down on duplication of services. We partner with other youth-serving organizations, the YWCA, the YMCAs, the community mental health, the Westchester County Community Mental Health Organizations, Mental Health Association of Westchester, all these United Way, all these organizations play a role in, and many of the businesses. We have one of the largest youth employment services programs, so putting kids to work, providing them much needed career skills as they're getting older. And the parents are right there. The parents are always welcome to attend our programs, to visit our programs. We encourage them. All our program directors and our staff stay in constant contact with our parents. Do you have any questions so far as to what we do? Yeah.
I was just curious if there's like a needs-based testing for the services, like if you're very rich, do you get the services, you get to pay extra, or is it for everybody the same thing, no matter how rich or how poor?
Everybody. The Youth Bureau exists to serve everybody in White Plains, okay. All kids. And as far as we're concerned, all children are at risk, right? So you never know, when something is going to impact a child. So it's not. Let's take substance abuse, for example, right? I mean, that's spread across. I mean, many people think, well, it's only those kids that use drugs, but that's not true. You'll find that rampant among the very wealthy to the very, very poor. So the substance of choice may differ, right? But the use is still there. And so, and similarly, mental health. Mental health doesn't discriminate based on income or race, or mental health is across the board. And so the Youth Bureau really serves everybody. We do we do emphasize, and we will reach out to more low-income families, simply because it's harder for these families to access services. And so we will reach out and to them a lot more. But we have kids from extremely wealthy families to very, very poor families participating in our programs.
So for the meeting, we had a quick chat, and one of the things that you were saying is that you do welcome volunteers quite a lot.
Yeah.
So I have actually two questions. So the first question is, could you give an example of a volunteer situation that people would be good to know about?
Okay. So we have, as I said, we have 45 different programs, all the way from computers to music. We're actually looking for a music program person. We lost our music person, we got a full-time job, which is another challenge that we face at the Youth Bureau is, that most of our staff are part-time staff, and so there's a high rate of turnover because we lose them to full-time positions. And so to answer your question, though, yesterday, for example, we run, the Youth Bureau is open 6 days a week, so we are also open from 10 to 8 on Saturdays. And we run 2 Saturday academies, a boys and a girls, separate 2 academies. And so they were doing a sock project where they were stuffing socks with little goodies, and so that we had volunteers coming from various organizations and working with the kids. It was an MLK Day of Service project that they were doing. We also run a youth court, which is a real court that is actually run by youth, high school youth, under the umbrella of the family court system and the probation department. So we get cases that are referred by the probation department for low-level crimes committed by young people, first-time offenders, and it's really an alternative to incarceration program. And we have volunteers that come from DAs. In fact, on Tuesday we have a DA coming to come and speak to the kids. We recruit the kids from high school during the spring. They get trained during the summer, and they process the cases during the school year in the evening. And the cases are heard in a real courtroom. Gretchen Walsh, who's one of the judges, she's very graciously allowed us the use of her courtroom at the county courthouse. And so we hear the cases there. Very, very impressive. While we're waiting for cases, we do mock trials. So if all of you are more than welcome to attend. I'd be more than happy to send you an invitation. And if you'd like to come and see these kids in action, you'll be blown away by how amazing they are. So we do a lot of, we have a lot of volunteer opportunities. We have the Girls Academy that we run on Saturdays. We have volunteer opportunities with those programs. We are really emphasizing a lot on what we call STEAM, with science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. And so any of you with a science background who'd like to come and do a hands-on project, we're very open and we'd love to have you. We partner with the Pace University Department of Computer Science. Dr. Pauline Mosley is working very closely with us to develop the STEAM curriculum. We just got a big grant from the New York State Department of Education, and we're running a STEAM academy at the elementary schools, which will be serving about 490 first through fifth graders every year for the next 5 years. And
Thank you. And the second question had to do with the fundraising aspect of it. So an example of something that the Friends of the Youth Bureau have been doing to raise funds,
Right.
which might be an
So they've been doing a performing arts benefit, which is actually coming up in February. I believe it's February 24th, whatever that Saturday is. They also do an annual gala event. And then at the Youth Bureau, in order to sustain our youth court, we do a Comic-Con. We always think outside of the box. Well, you might think, well, Comic-Con, what does that have to do with serving youth? But, the kids who attend, or the population that really attends events like events like the Comic-Con are really very disenfranchised. They're a very unique cult or group of their own. They kind of think very differently, and they have different interests. Extremely talented group of people. So this year we're going to be doing the Comic-Con on May 12th at the Galleria Mall. Everybody's welcome to attend. It's quite an event. We do cosplay and gaming tournaments, and there are vendors representing the comic book industry. We also do a wellness festival in September. It's always the third Saturday in September. It's an outdoor festival on Court Street, and that's really one of the ways that we invite service providers from the health and wellness industry to. It's really all about finding a balance between the 8 dimensions of wellness. So we have people from the financial industry, from fitness to environmental groups to youth-serving organizations, all kinds of organization. It's a family fun festival. And then we also publish the only bilingual health and wellness magazine called Living Wellness. That is, unfortunately I don't have funds to do more than one issue a year, but we do publish it once a year, and it's the only bilingual health and wellness magazine that's available in the county. It's distributed free of charge in hard copy as well as digital editions, and the articles are written by our community partners, doctors and other social workers and counselors, and we get them translated and publish it. So these are all our fundraising endeavors throughout the year.
It really got my attention when you mentioned partnerships and stretching funds,
Right.
and how that relates to other service organizations or volunteer organizations about stretching our time, because that always seems to be a problem, never being able to get enough people to participate or participate frequently. How much of your time and the organization's time is spent on that kind of management function that really keeps it together and bears results?
I am so glad you asked that question, because I was just talking to you earlier today, and I was saying that, it really, in order to have a really robust volunteer program, you really need to have somebody on staff to coordinate all these volunteer opportunities. And with our dwindling dollars, unfortunately, we have not been able to hire somebody, even on a part-time basis, to really manage all this. So currently what happens is somebody will call and say, I'd like to volunteer, or an organization. Our Youth Employment Services Program Director, Patty Staffiero, who's in contact with a lot of the businesses in the area, they'll contact her and say, we have X number of volunteers who'd like to come and do this project. So she'll contact me, or she'll contact, whichever program director or whoever's in charge of any specific program, and we'll just kind of make it happen that way. But we're open, if, you could even have a volunteer manager, a coordinator. There's nothing stopping that, but it has to be somebody that's dedicated, not somebody that's going to just be there for 1 or 2 months and then kind of disappear. Right now it seems to work really, really well. We have a lot of people that come and volunteer, Just recently, you won't believe, but there was a pilot living in White Plains who had actually built a flight simulator in his basement. It cost about $60,000, and he used to train actual pilots on this flight simulator. And he was moving homes, and he donated the entire flight simulator to the Youth Bureau. So we have it set up, and this Wednesday is the inauguration of the flight simulator, and we're going to be providing, and he's going to be volunteering to run classes for kids and middle and high school students on the flight simulator. So, you know, Frank Williams, who's our executive director, and I, we're out there in the community a lot. And so we have our ears and eyes open for all these opportunities, and we're open to anything. I think that's really the key to the Youth Bureau is the leadership that has been provided by Frank. You know, he's always open, you know, to any new idea. So if we go to him and say, I mean, which other executive director of a youth-serving organization would allow you to do a Comic-Con, you know, they say, forget it, you know, what does that have to do with what we do as a youth bureau, you know? But when we took that idea to him, he said, sure, go for it. So we actually provided the Comic-Con under the umbrella of an anti-bullying initiative. And I'm very proud to say that many of our comic book vendors have actually come up with comic books after we spoke to them that have to do with the anti-bullying theme. So we're very, 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 very proud of that, for making that happen. I don't know if that answered your question, or, yeah, okay. Anything else? Yeah.
Do you have a mentoring program?
A what?
A mentoring.
We do have a mentoring program, and we have we do have a staff person who manages the mentoring program, and she interviews, and so if any of you, we're always looking for mentors, and we always have kids that we can match mentors with. So if you'd please give me a call, and we'll be more than happy to, I'll be happy to forward your name over to our mentoring program director, and her name is Sheila Foley. She'll be happy to meet with you and kind of figure out and match you with an appropriate youth. So we have, if you'd like to know more about all our programs, you can visit our website, which is www.whiteplainsyouthbureau.org. And all the programs are listed there. We're also on Facebook.
I know this is the end of the question, but at what age the program starts? I know you say youth, but
Yeah.
what age does?
I'm sorry, I should have said that. So we serve youth from age 5 to age 24. So we have, I know 24-year-olds aren't typically considered youth, but we think that they are because of the brain development science that says that your brain is still really growing until the age of 25, and so we serve youth all the way from age 5 to 24, and we have a number of initiatives and programs that we do.
Just the last question.
Yeah.
Dr. Pahwa, I want to thank you. My son, Matthew, in the back, Matthew Voltaire, is a graduate of Saturday Academy.
Oh, okay,
He
great.
knows, yeah. And Dr. Williams, please tell him I said hello.
I definitely
Maggie
will,
Voltaire.
certainly, absolutely. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.